Have you ever watched your whole world burn down through the dim glow of a phone screen? I was sitting in my parked car on the third level of the parking garage across from the Elysian, a restaurant far too expensive for a casual Tuesday. But there she was, my wife, Isabel, in the window booth. Her laughter a silent movie I could see, but not hear. The man across from her, the one raising a glass of wine to her lips, was Julian, my partner, my friend. The screen in my hand wasn't showing me a movie. It was a live feed from the private investigator I'd hired 3 days ago, a man whose services I never thought I'd need. Every smile she gave him was a twist of the knife that had been lodged in my gut for weeks. The finality of it all hadn't hit me yet. Right now, it was just a cold, sharp pressure in my chest, the kind you feel right before the floor gives out beneath you. I knew that when she came home tonight, nothing would ever be the same again. If you genuinely enjoy our stories, please subscribe to the channel, tell us where you're from, what time it is right now. It's always fascinating to know how far our story flows. The first crack in the perfect facade of our life was almost invisible. It was a scent. A cologne that wasn't mine, clinging to her silk blouse one evening. When I asked, she'd laughed it off. Oh, probably from someone at the gallery. You know how those artsy types are. It was plausible. Isabel ran one of the most successful contemporary art galleries in downtown Chicago, a world of abstract emotions and even more abstract excuses. But then came the late nights, attributed to schmoozing new clients, and the receipts for dinners I was never invited to. Phone once left carelessly on the kitchen counter was now permanently attached to her hand, its screen angled away from me with a practiced subtlety. She grew distant, a beautiful statue in our shared penthouse overlooking Millennium Park. Her warmth was replaced by a polished, manipulative coldness. She'd gaslight me with surgical precision, making me feel insane for questioning her. "You're being paranoid, darling," she'd say, her voice dripping with a condescending sweetness that made my skin crawl. She and Julian, they moved through our shared circles with an untouchable arrogance, laughing at inside jokes in front of me, their confidence a suffocating poison. They thought they were smarter than me. They thought I was just the quiet, stable husband, too blinded by love to see the viper in my bed and the wolf at my table. The breaking point came on a rainy Thursday. I'd come home early, hoping to surprise her, maybe break through the ice that had formed between us. I found her in the study on the phone, her back to the door. "He has no idea, Jules," she whispered, a cruel little smile in her voice. "He just works, pays for all this, and he doesn't have a clue." My heart didn't just break. It detonated. The sound in my ears was a deafening roar. I backed away silently, my hand over my mouth to stifle the sound of my own suffocation. That night I wept. Not for the loss of her, but for the utter fool I had been. The humiliation was a physical weight, pressing down on me until I could barely breathe. But as the sun rose over the Chicago skyline, something inside me shifted. The grief curdled into something harder, colder. It was time to stop being the victim. It was time to plan. My first call was to the best divorce attorney in the state, a shark named Marcus Thorne. I laid out everything I knew, which at that point was mostly circumstantial. "We need proof, concrete and undeniable," he'd said, his voice calm and lethal. "We need to build a cage so perfect she won't and even see the bars until it's locked." So I became a ghost in my own life. I hired the pie. I installed keylogging software on our home computer. I documented every lie, every discrepancy, every dollar she spent on him from our joint accounts. The evidence piled up. Hotel bookings in the Gold Coast, credit card statements from jewelry stores, screenshots of their deleted texts that I'd recovered. They were planning a future, a life built on the ashes of mine. The plan wasn't just about the divorce anymore. It was about dismantling the empire of lies she had so carefully constructed. I found out Julian was embezzling from our firm, funneling money into a shell corporation, with Isabel as a silent partner. They weren't just cheating on me. They were robbing me blind. The trap was set. All the legal documents were drawn up. The locks on our penthouse were scheduled to be changed. The board of our company was called for an emergency meeting the next morning. The night I sat in that parking garage watching them toast to their own brilliance was the night it all came together. I drove home to our empty, silent penthouse. The locksmith was already there. As he worked, the metallic click of the tumblers was the sweetest sound I had ever heard. I packed a single bag for her, filled with the cheap, gaudy gifts Julian had bought her. Everything else, her designer clothes, her art collection, entire life was now legally mine, secured under asset protection clauses she'd been too arrogant to read. The next morning, I walked into the boardroom. Julian was there, looking smug. I let him start his presentation. Then I interrupted. Before we continue, I said, my voice steady, I have a more pressing matter to discuss. I projected the evidence onto the main screen. The bank transfers, the emails, the photos of him and Isabel. The color drained from his face. The board was silent, horrified. He was fired on the spot, escorted out by security, his career in ruins. At the same time, Isabel was trying her key at the Penthouse. Wouldn't turn. Her phone buzzed. It was an email from my lawyer, containing the divorce filing, the restraining order, and a link to a cloud drive containing every single piece of evidence of her affair and their fraud. Her socialite friends got an anonymous tip. The gallery's investors were notified of her misuse of funds. Her world was imploding, and she was locked out on the street. I never saw her again, not in person. I heard she moved back to her hometown, a pariah. Julian was facing federal charges. Sometimes, late at night, I stand by the floor-to-ceiling windows of the Penthouse. Looking out at the city lights, the same view we once shared, the silence in this place is deafening, a constant reminder of the life that was and the destruction I wrought. It wasn't a victory. It was just the end. The end.